Okay, so the Thanksgiving gods have not smiled upon me. Hello, welcome everyone to the Thanksgiving Magic Hangout. We're going to be hanging out. Uh, we are going to be hanging out around the turkey table. Hello, hello, hello. We're going to be hanging out around the turkey table here. And unlike some of you who may have stressful home situations to go back to, don't worry, you can say whatever you want here. I'm back. Yeah, I have no idea. Apologies to everyone who just rejoined the stream. It got cut out before, but I guess that's for the best because that one started without audio. You know how it is. OBS, the best communication software that's also the worst communication software. All right. So for this stream, we're just doing a casual hangout, and we're kicking off by talking about good movies, occult movies that we've all seen and liked. And we were just discussing The Holy Mountain, Simon King of the Witches, Excalibur, Warlock, several others. And there were a bunch of questions I was going to get to that I couldn't, so please repost them. We were talking about Ellen Chapman's new Crowley essay at barbarouswords.com. We were talking about how Magic Without Tears hasn't been republished since 1991. Maybe that's why the stream cut out, because I was talking about matters of such matters. But anyways, we're back. The Magic.me Black Friday deal is still not open except for YouTube subscribers. And it's not even Black Friday yet, and the top package is almost halfway sold out. They're going quick. They may all be gone before Black Friday even starts. Of course, you can get them early if you join the channel and become a paid supporter. So you can check that out right here, friday.magic.me, and you will find out everything you need to know about it, and I'll just leave this up. All right, Masonic Traveler. Let's just get into it, because I've seen you ask this like 7 times, and I'm not ignoring you. I'd like to know your views on Liber Abysmi, and will you eventually cover it? Well, I need to... It's actually Liber Osvel Abysmi, and Liber Oz Abysmi Vel Doth, and I must preface this by saying I have not actually worked through this. So I have not worked through it. So, but we can certainly discuss it. But I don't like discussing things I haven't done. So I can kind of riff on it, but I kind of feel like that's bad. That's bad cricket, you know. But in general, I will say this. The Liber Oz Abysmi Vel Doth is a book about entering the abyss through the breakdown of pure reason by consistently, basically pushing the mind analytically to the limit where it breaks down into its own contradictions. And it's a phenomenal piece of work, but I haven't done it, so I frankly don't want to comment on it, because I feel like this would be disingenuous of me. But very cool that you're interested in it. Angelo says, what's your thoughts on the Agori in India and their Tantra? Do you believe they know some possibly magic? Have you seen any with power? The Agora, yeah, absolutely. I'm an initiated Agori. Agora is plural. I was initiated by Paglananda in Kathmandu with Genesis Peerage. So, the Agori in India, or rather Agora is the path, the Agori, the people who follow it. This is, in many ways, the final path of Eastern Hindu Tantra, Eastern mysticism. It's a higher path. It's considered to be essentially the most elevated path of no distinction, and it's not for beginners. It's people don't just jump straight into Agora. They usually come from other traditions, such as the various branches of the Nath Sampradaya or the Naga Babas. I'm initiated into multiple branches of the Nath Sampradaya, as well as the Agori. And it's interesting that this has come up next to Liber Oz Abysmi Veldoth because it is in many ways the path of no distinction and of not making and of simply not making distinctions between anything. It is not particularly portable to the West, and in terms of do they know magic? Absolutely, they know magic. Absolutely. We're back. Hello, Jason. How's it going? All right. Jason sent me a very nice wedding present. Thank you again, Jason. Thank you again very much. I just redeemed the Amazon card, and I was very touched by that. Okay. Masonic Traveler's never seen good occult movies. Well, we've definitely mentioned Holy Mountain is a classic. You have to see that. Ren asks, have you seen The Love Witch? It feels accurate about a culture in some ways, but not the ways you'd think. I actually have not seen it. I've seen trailers for it, but that's about it. Let's see. All right, we got our viewers back. We got 50 viewers. So I will probably not. So Masonic Traveler, I will probably not cover Liber Osvel Abysmi, or Liber Os Abysmi Veldoth. Excuse me. It's not particularly pertinent to the lower grades, which tends to be where I teach. And I'm not saying that I will never teach higher material, but we'll get there when we get there. And that largely depends on the progress of the students. Quite frankly, just getting people to sit down for asana and do a few pentagram rituals is enough of an ask, right? And I've definitely had a few students who've gone much further, but it's rare because the reality is, and I'll be honest about that, because the reality is, well, first of all, the idea of teaching higher grade material on the internet is just a bit of a non-starter for a lot of obvious reasons. Also, you can't be led. Magic is a self-starting solo path. To get to those levels, you have to push yourself consistently. No one can give you a weekend workshop, on entering the abyss by reading Kant. That's not going to happen. And the higher grade material doesn't make any sense. And is just simply not appropriate until you've worked through the lower grades. And lower grades take a lot of time and work. So we will, I've been teaching online for 10 years. It can take people, frankly, more than 10 years to get through one grade. And that's within an actual structured initiatory system, which Magic.me is not. Magic.me is structured training, but I don't initiate people. It's not a magic order, right? It's a new type of magical system and, quote unquote, lodge for the 21st century where we have things like this that didn't exist before. But it's not an initiatory structure in the classic sense. I do step-by-step training, but, at a certain point, it's like I give people the tools and I show them where to look for more. And, if you want to blast off into the into the stratosphere, my hope as a teacher, the purpose, as we said on the last stream, the purpose of education is not to indoctrinate you. And it's certainly not to hold you by the hand. And it's certainly not to do things for you. The purpose of initiation is to give you the tools to educate yourself, right? It's to give you enough material so that you can get, and not just material, right? But orientation and example and, as they used to say back in the day, pulling your coat a little bit, kind of showing you how to raise up. And it's to orient you in the right direction and then give you the resources for how to learn more and do it yourself, right? That's true even of magical orders. You could join any of these orders. At the end of the day, it's going to, and they'll do initiations and things, and that's great. But at the end of the day, it's still on you, right? And the reality of magical groups, and particularly in person, is it's kind of like when you're in school. You tend to move, and this is not magic.me, but you can get this in OTO or Golden Dawn groups. You tend to move at the rate of the slowest student. And I know people don't like hearing that, but many of you may remember that because you're all smart cookies. Many of you may remember that from school. And in lodge work, an egregore does form, and you're kind of held at a certain mean, average level. The good thing about teaching online is that's not the case because you're all on your own recognizance. So, so my goal as a teacher is not to initiate. It's not to handhold. It's not to, claim special status. It's simply to inform you, point you in the right direction, and more than that, give you the tools you need to do the work yourself. So, will we get to the Liber Osvel Abysmai? Not at a group level. My hope is that there are students who will push themselves to that level, right? But honestly, quite frankly, I don't expect teaching mass classes in higher grades. I would love to be pleasantly surprised, and hope springs eternal, but that will be completely down to my students. All of my students are very, very sincere and hardworking, but it's like magic takes a long time. Like I said, you can spend more than 10 years or more, 15, 20 years potentially, just in one grade if you're really doing it. Because the grades are not just, by the way, the grades are not just learning material. The grades are about processes that have to happen in your life, that you have to go through as an individual, many of which can be quite challenging, but that makes you a more coherent, focused, and single-pointed individual on the other end always. So if you're interested in Liber Oz, wonderful, and I commend you, and keep at it. And I saw also that you said, okay, what are my views on Liber Thishar? Gonna plead the fifth, take the fifth on that one. Same thing. But I saw that you are enjoying the course. Which course did you get? Masonic Traveler says, I'm enjoying the course, Jason. I received it tonight. I'm very satisfied. Excellent. Which one did you get? I'm curious. Okay. Beyond Lemuria with a cameo by Lon Milo DeCat. Is that the movie about Poke Runyon? Eric Flynn says, I just watched Lord of Illusions. What a head trip. Yeah, that's a great movie. The beginning of Lord of Illusions, like the first 10 minutes, is clearly based on the Solar Lodge OTO, which was hold on, I gotta do both things. Renegade, as the OTO claims, OTO Lodge in the 60s that was way out there. I mean, they were on acid every day for like 4 or 5 years. Some of their members, like Frater Shiva, have published actually quite phenomenal books about their work, but also, I think at one point they were all on ether, and quite infamously, they were out in the desert, and there was a quite horrible criminal incident where I think there was a kid it was a cult, okay, and there was a kid, and the kid burned down some buildings, and then they put him in a box in the desert. It was child abuse, right? Just awful. And the OTO still claimed that Jean Brayton was the name of the woman who was running it. The people that were running it were dentists, which sounds ridiculous until you realize that dentists have access to all kinds of drugs freely, as they did. And the OTO, from what I understand, claims that they were never a real OTO lodge, but allegedly, I've seen this online, so, take it with a grain of salt, but allegedly, Phyllis Seckler was on record at one point saying that they were actually chartered. Whoops. Whoopsie daisy. But I'm pretty sure that the first 10 minutes of Lord of Illusions and then the end are based on Solar Lodge. And it's quite likely that if Clive Barker knew about that, he probably heard about it from Balance and Sleazy from Coil, who had a track called Solar Lodge on one of their first albums, so clearly knew about it. So, occult trivia. Yeah, don't do that. I mean, this is like the Charles Manson era, where everyone was like, "What if we do acid every day and just wig out?" Don't do that. Don't do that. Ramen Noodles says, I'm newer to Ritual Magic, started doing the LBRP daily a couple weeks ago by my altar. Congratulations. I've been told it deactivates sigils, talismans, spell jars, items, charge tools if not covered. Is this true? No, this is not true. Unless you want it to. Basically, it clears the local astral. It will. It clears. Well, I don't want to say too much about it. You need to experiment with it and practice it and get good at it. As you all tell me when I stream video games, whenever I stream video games, like everyone calls me a boomer and says I play games like a boomer, and I'm asking them how to play, and they're just, man, just get good, GITGUD, which means just play it until you figure out what it does. This is my recommendation. We love you too, Exploration Arcanum, absolutely, and I am greatly looking forward to finally getting back to the games. And I am hard at work on fixing the fascinating but utterly broken Giovanni Chronicles. They're going to be much better. Oh, so Twin Peaks. People were talking about Twin Peaks. Yeah, the third season of Twin Peaks, I liked. A lot of people didn't like it. I have two things to say about it. One was the second to last episode is clearly based on the Babylon working. And if you rewatch it with that in mind, you'll see what I'm talking about. I think the last shot of that show, where it's just... Well, I'll preface this by saying, the first Twin Peaks, although David Lynch did not like the fact that they revealed the murderer, I think the fact that, spoiler alert, close your ears if you haven't heard it, the fact that they revealed the murderer to be Laura's father turned it into a commentary about abuse and sexual abuse in families that I think was really hard and rough to watch, obviously, but was important for society. It's like this is an important topic for society to talk about. How you can have these perfectly normal families, but underneath the surface, you've got the dad sexually abusing the daughter, and then kills her in the show. I think that the third one, The Return, third season, really drives that point home even further by, again, spoiler alert, closing your ears if you don't want spoilers. The point that show makes is that actually, in this fantastical way, is like, actually the real problem in that family was the mother, the enabling mother, who stood back and let it happen. That's a rough point, right? And I think that the final shot of that show where Laura, again, spoiler, where Laura is just looking at her house where this all happened and just screams, and it goes dark, and it's this like nerve-shattering scream. That was chilling. That was phenomenal. I mean, that was a true moment of artistic effect, and really, really drove that point home. And that, for me, made the whole show. In terms of, the green gloves, I mean, this is all Mark Frost's comments on theosophy and things like that. There's a lot of ridiculous shit. But I also love Dougie, and the different Coopers, and I thought that was quite good. The esoteric material in Twin Peaks, by the way, you could say, yes, it kind of comes from Lynch, just in the sense that Lynch got material from his dreams. But Mark Frost, the writer, is like hardcore into theosophy, and he wrote some great novels, like List of Seven is a great novel. It was clearly ripped off by Alan Moore for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's a great novel. He's the guy that there were tons of actual occult references, and they were all put in there by Mark Frost. And actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I think about like 20 years ago, I was hanging out with some of my college friends, and in one of my wayward lost years, we were drinking. Before they had Four Loko, they had this drink called Four, which was $2, and it was full of malt liquor, vodka, and straight up wormwood, the ingredient in absinthe. And it was like purple grape soda, right? And $2 of just straight brain poison. So we sat there watching several Twin Peaks episodes, drinking this stuff. And for some reason, I just started, I was heavy on an Eastern kick at this time. This was actually before I got back into Western magic. I was doing the obligatory Hindu and Buddhist thing. And I just started basically, I don't want to say channeling, but I just started, let's say drunk talking, okay, just to make it less supernatural. Let's be more real about it. But I started going off about how I realized that the entirety of Twin Peaks is actually a cinematic description of I think it's called the Bhava Chakra in Tibetan Buddhism, where the one with 6 worlds, right? And that Laura is the Dakini that is sacrificed for all this stuff. I can't remember what I was saying now, but it all made perfect sense at the time, and it made so much sense that everyone around me started throwing up, and that's how I know that I got it right. So if you watch Twin Peaks as I don't think, by the way, I think that other people have commented on this. I'm not the only person to say that, so let's see. Wicker Man is awesome, of course. You know, you can't go wrong with the Wicker Man. Not the remake, although Nicolas Cage is hilarious in that one. Midsommar is excellent. You got to see Midsommar. It's great. It's a cautionary tale about hanging out with traditionalist neo-Nazi groups. It's way too real. Beyond Lemuria is so bad. Okay, I gotta look this up. What is Beyond Lemuria? Oh Lord, it's about the Shaver mystery. What is Does anyone know about the Shaver mystery? It's like this science fiction writer in the 50s made up this thing about people living in the Hollow Earth, and people took it seriously. Wow, yeah, this looks pretty bad. This looks pretty bad. I mean, it's probably fun though. I don't know. Beyond Lemuria. Oh, here we go. Science fiction writer and surrealist painter Richard Shaver believed in the physical reality of the dark subterranean realm of the Deros, degenerate survivors of Atlantis and Lemuria who still inhabited a secret worldwide network of caverns, and used ancient telepathic ray machines to spy on and torture surface people. I mean, okay, cool setup for a role-playing game, but I guess people actually believe this. These demonic humanoids were responsible for much of the evil and mental illness in our surface world. Interesting that he mentioned mental illness and that they're beaming rays. Okay, I kind of see what's happening here. Whether real or fanciful, Shaver had created a modern atomic age version of a medieval hell and a new form of demonology. Okay. I mean, all you need to get a new, literally all you need for a new form of demonology is just to go out on a Saturday night wherever people get drunk in your city. Beyond Lemuria postulates that Shaver's subterranean Diro world exists, but that it is in another dimension. Well, isn't that convenient? Because now no one can disprove it. Isn't that convenient? Even if there's nothing there, they can say, well, it's in another dimension, man. This nearby shadow world can be contacted and entered through a vortex generated by the machine called the Intragravitron. I'm I'm getting flashbacks to the Montauk Project nonsense. The sinister Draconian Society has secretly funded the development of this device and plans to open the vortex at an interdimensional convergence point deep in the lava caves on the northern slopes of Mount Shasta. Oh boy. It's got, it's got a lot of good reviews, actually. Well, maybe it's fun. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Manessa, yeah, thank you for remembering. Being There. I forgot about that, actually. Being There with Peter Sellers. You got to watch that movie. If I could recommend 2 movies about magic, Being There and The Magic Christian. If you really want to go at like a hardcore Gurdjieffian angle, right? Being There and The Magic Christian. Being There is a perfect movie about the spiritual path. Masonic Traveler says, I looked into the AA system and it doesn't really explain. Get Jim Eshelman's book, Magic and Mystical System of the AA. It lays it all out. You know, I'm not saying it's the be all end all because there's lots of lineages that have their own take, but that book really lays it out pretty well. Beta Beta ZZ Beta says, I'm a solo practitioner. Do you think it's important to join a group so I can continue progressing? Well, I don't know because I don't know you. It can be at certain points of the path. At others, it becomes a hindrance. It is really up to, I hate to do this, but it's really up to what calls to you, right? It depends on what type of person you are. Spring, Summer, Fall, Winter, and Spring is a really good Korean Buddhist movie, showcases the path of enlightenment really well. One of my favorite movies, super cool. I've never heard of that, but that sounds good. A Dark Song. I did a whole 30-minute takedown of A Dark Song, which, yes, is a good movie, but completely tarnishes the Abramelin working, which is, I would not want the karma for that. Let me put it that way. It takes the most beautiful and central ritual in the entire Western tradition and turns it into a schlock horror movie. So go check out my video that I did on that because I had some choice words about it. Hello there from England. How's it going? Magic seems to be more of a practice of developing discipline, if nothing else. Well, every practice is a practice of developing discipline. So it's a lot more. Yeah, you need to be disciplined, but it's about a whole lot more than just being disciplined. It's called magic for a reason. Yeah, Adrian says, been doing lower grade work for 15 years. Yeah. And just started making progress with dedication to asana and pranayama. Yeah, slow is good. And, that comment shows that you're actually doing it. So there you go. I mean, that's kind of what I was saying. You can spend a ton of time just getting, and you should really get it right before moving on. So Beta ZZ says, for those who are looking for occult movies or shows, I recommend anime, for example, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yeah, I started watching that a little bit. It's funny how we like anime too. It's funny how, I mean, you're not going to get like good information from it, but it is very interesting how anime has become like the repository for a lot of the world's mythology, not just Japanese, right? A lot of the world's mythology that, Hollywood just either twists and distorts or passes over has ended up in anime. And I think that's actually quite fascinating. Any thoughts on doing my morning LBRP in the shower? Short answer, no. But good that you're doing it. Yes, Temple says consistency is the difference between mediocre and mastery. One does not need to be great. One only needs to show up daily. That's right. Tyler says, I'm interested in the AA system, but from what I've read, it seems like Goetia and Qliphothic work is involved at some point on the path, which I'm uncomfortable with. I would love your thoughts on this. Well, I've done Goetia, I've done Qliphoth. I don't teach them. I excise them from my teaching. It is just irresponsible to teach that stuff on the internet, and frankly, I don't think Goetia is necessary. And anyone who tells you that it's some psychological model shadow work, yeah. I know multiple people who have died from doing Goetia. Okay. I had a really good friend who was a professional Goetic magician, and I know other people on the chat have had similar experiences, who at 26, or he made hundreds of thousands of dollars. This was way back. Got a modeling contract, got a husband, beautiful house, all this. He was making all this money doing Goetia for people. And then he got AIDS and died at 26. Causation or correlation? I don't know, but he sure seemed to think there was causation. Qliphoth, I think that engaging in the Qliphoth in a direct way, such as, for instance, recommended by Kenneth Grant, Thomas Carlson, God forbid, some O9A person, is not only ridiculous, but completely missing the point. The Qliphoth are naturally activated at each Sephiroth anyway. The Qliphoth are already active. The process of going through the Sephiroth is subduing them. Right? So in plain English, meaning your shadow is already there and will fuck you up anyways without you having to go crawling up Cthulhu's butthole. So if you think of the great work, and this is a very reductive way to put it, but if you think of it as a process of cleaning up your internal world, the Qliphoth is the stuff you're cleaning up. And the Qliphoth represents broken things, things that are not needed, cast-offs, old personality shells, things that are not accretions, that are not part of your true will, and so on and so forth. Oh, Masonic Traveler, you got Adept Initiative 1 and 2. Excellent. Those are the refilmed ones. So, P.S. Purchased on their own, Adept 1 is $497, and Adept Initiative 2 is $797. And if you go here, you get them both for $397, plus you get to come to the solstice, the live solstice working coming up on December 20th, which is also $497 if bought alone. That's a pretty good. That's altogether it comes out to something like $1,791, but you get it for $397 until the end of Black Friday, and you can grab them now if you are joined the channel. Go check out this link, and all will be revealed. Okay, so interesting. So yeah, related comment. Will says, "Hey Jason, I was wondering if you have suggestions for deleting and transmuting the energetic emotional baggage that comes up as you follow your path of enacting your true will." So that's in a way another way of talking about what I just said of purifying the Qliphoth, right? Any way you can, any and every way you can. Therapy, body work, exercise. Journaling, you know, the grades as you take them, like there's magic as it's written in the books, and then there's magic as you live it. And those are two different things. And I encourage everyone on the path to take the goals of the path and do more than the required work. And use any and all modern tools you can find to do that. Therapy is a great one, if you have a good therapist. Because at the end of the day, like this is why when I teach, it's like I'm always putting modern stuff in it. It's not arcane. We're reading stuff, we're following a tradition that's been written down over hundreds of years, and if those people had access to some of the things we have, they would have used them. That, like, for instance, like just at a very basic level, there were no sensory deprivation tanks in Crowley's time. Do you think he would have used them? I do. So any and every way you can get. But never overlook mundane and obvious, never, ever overlook mundane and obvious ways of doing it. So you're saying the best way you found to do it is by connecting with angels and communicating with them and receiving help in the process. The LBRP has been helpful in this, but it isn't quite enough. So that sounds great too. You should also do that. That's a pretty straightforward and classic approach. Ren says so much of magic is just living. Had to go through the process of being a normie for a couple years after discovering these practices. It was necessary and taught me a lot. Oh, that definitely happens along the path. I was on a path where I was, I was for quite a while tripping the light fantastic, traveling around India, getting all these initiations and just whiling out. And what was I forced to do next? Get a desk job for 4 years that I hated, grinding away in misery. And I learned a lot. I actually learned everything I needed to do Magic.me. So another way of putting it, you got to eat your vegetables too. Do you think Vedic astrology can help you to learn what kinds of deities, energies walk with you, or if you work with those energies? I am not an expert on Vedic astrology, so you would have to ask a Vedic astrologer. Exploration Arcanum says all of Jason's courses are great. Anyone you pick will be well worth it. Thank you. Thank you. Dentists are also sadists. Oh, man. Yeah, as seen in the original Manchurian Candidate. Magic movies you need to watch. I think I said this recently. or maybe I didn't. Magic movies you need to watch, like need. Not the original, but the remake of The Manchurian Candidate from 2004 with Denzel Washington. Watch and Liev Schreiber. And I'm blanking on her name, but it's a really obvious actress. Watch that movie, Manchurian Candidate 2004. You will never look at politics the same way ever again. And it's a phenomenal movie. And the villain is clearly supposed to be Hillary Clinton, which is hilarious. About to do a sigil for acquiring the funds to take some of your courses. Do you have any recommendations on sigil work for that? Try working with the goddess Lakshmi. That's a good one. Of course, we have the Fortuna working, but that is a paid course. Yeah, try working with the goddess Lakshmi. Balance was ruined by X. I think that Jeff Rushton was named John Balance by Genesis as a joke, or perhaps as a talisman because he was so imbalanced. So I don't think that it was E that did John Balance in. He was definitely ruined by alcohol later on, but he was clearly an unintegrated person. And let's be honest, guys, Peter Christopherson, clearly a PDF file, did not keep it secret. You know, Jason pissed everyone off again recently by putting up a meme of Jared from Subway on Instagram. I just put a picture of Jared from Subway on Instagram, and then I put like the Coil Music to Play in the Dark logo on top of it, but I said it was Coil Music to Play at Subway. They were PDF files. There's a whole music video of Balance dancing with underage Thai boys on a stage in Thailand. Do you think that was just edgy signaling? I don't think so. The Threshold Houseboys Choir? No, and yeah, it wasn't just a joke. So it's like, we need to look at these things clearly and label right from wrong, which I know in the culture that drawing moral lines on anything is the ultimate sin. My God, boundaries. Oh no. Good and evil? Oh no. But if you hang out in any occult group that's just of the standard type, and I'm sorry, the shit Libby type, which is almost all of them, it's like the ultimate sin is judgment. It's like you can do anything in a culture except be judgmental. Well, I'm a real judgmental asshole. Sorry. I've got too much Jesse Custer in me. No one's ruined by ecstasy. You know, drugs don't ruin people. Well, heroin. Obviously, heroin and methamphetamine do. Well, I take that back. No, I take that back. Hard drugs can seriously bring out demonic sides of people that wouldn't come out otherwise. I don't think that ecstasy is one of those drugs, but I actually take that statement back. Hard drugs can truly put people into hell realms and bring demons through them. Is it true that the LBRP reinforces the karmic process and inflates the ego to hopefully make peace with reality more? I think that's a no, I think that's a again, you need to do it more to understand what it actually is. It's nothing that dramatic. Hereditary. I really hated Hereditary the first time I saw it. Primarily because they put actual Goetia in it, which is a phenomenally irresponsible thing to do. Phenomenally irresponsible. And you can tell it was phenomenally irresponsible because every dumbass occult kid after that was like, King Paimon, blah, 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 blah. It's like you got a whole generation of people who worship Goetia. And that movie is part of the problem. Ridiculous. I saw a book on somebody literally put out a book called Goetia for Kids recently. Malevolent. So on that regard, the director gets an F- and a punch in the face. Same as Dark Song. You know, if you misrepresent these traditions, if you use them for shock value, if you turn them into horror movie props for money, okay, not only are you tempting fate, it's like the hammer of karma will come down on you. I'm sorry. Like, you can't do that. It makes everyone look bad, And these spiritual forces are real. So he gets an F- and a punch in the face for that one. However, on the other hand, as a movie about as a movie, if we take that level out of it and you just look at it as a movie about intergenerational trauma and secrets within families and how trauma is passed down between generations, I think as a psychological metaphor, it is quite a good movie. I've never said that it was not well done. It's a very well done movie. Again, it's just there are consequences to using these things. Would I do a video on more occult shows? I'd have to really think about that. Firewalk with Me was intense. Yeah, Firewalk with Me, I recommend watching the extended director's cut. There's like a whole 45 minutes that was restored to that movie. The Shout. Haven't heard of that. That sounds interesting. Do I believe an actual Black Lodge exists, or is it just entertainment? Yes, I do, actually, but I don't think it's what people think it is. It's not anything so Hollywood. There's the Black Lodge and then there's the Black Brotherhood. They're two different things. Crowley talks about the Black Lodge directly in Magic Without Tears. And he basically, defines it as the initiatory schools that feel that life is hopeless, which is one way to look at it. And so an example of that is Buddhism, actually, is considered Black Lodge by Crowley. Gnosticism is as well, the Black Iron Prison, as defined as contrasted with the White Lodge, which I consider myself, the Western magical tradition, Kabbalah is White Lodge. Western magical tradition is White Lodge, and this isn't good and evil. It's orientations towards reality. The White Lodge sees the world and says, yeah, it's fucked, but you know what? We can still work to make it better. For instance, modern medicine, scientific advances. It's like, yeah, like, you can just, like, give up and be eaten by fleas because life is suffering. Like, sure. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. Life contains suffering. There's no escaping old age, sickness, and death. Sure. But, we invented penicillin also. So maybe get off your ass and do some practical work. And that's generally the approach of the Western magical tradition. I did not like Eraserhead because it is clearly Lynch directing spite and hatred at fatherhood and having a 1-year-old child. Speaking of Alan Moore, what's your take on his bumper book of magic? Haven't read it. Strange Angel was good. They canceled it before it concluded. Strange Angel was it was cool that it was made. I watched the first few episodes. There were some cool things in it. They made Parsons into a weenie. And that is unforgivable. It's just unforgivable. And they distorted it. They changed the story. Of course, best occult comic books. The best occult comic book ever written, The Naz. But it's not even in graphic novel form, but you can hunt it down on eBay. Nazz, The Naz, by Tom Veitch. And the artist Brian Talbot, who did Adventures of Luther Arkwright. Phenomenal artist. It is a book that was clearly written. It is a comic book version of the cult leader Adida Samraj, who was a very charismatic and very abusive tantric guru in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, who at one point was leading a wild group in Hawaii. Great. It was clearly written by somebody who had been either in that group or in Eastern cults like that. Great. Highly recommend that. I think that the Naz is the best. In many ways, it's not only one of the best comics of the whole kind of like early, Dark Age graphic novel era. It was like 1991. But it's also one of the best depictions of what being in Eastern groups is like. Obviously, like, it's exaggerated, but highly recommend looking that up. Yeah, they also talk a lot about Tibet in Twin Peaks. Yes, Exploration Arcanum says my favorite occult comic book characters are Constantine and Zatanna. but Promethea is probably the best series besides The Invisibles. Yeah, both of those are great. I reread the whole Invisibles omnibus recently. Obviously, it was a huge influence on me as a kid. It very much reads like a comic for teenagers now. It seems a little bit naive in retrospect, but it's great. Promethea is great for learning correspondences, but I think that it kind of overplays its hand. It's like I remember even Grant Morrison talking about Promethea at a comic convention in San Diego, where he was like, and this actually was a quite influential comment on me, where he was saying like, it's like Promethea, Alan, like those two were obviously always going at it. But he's like, Promethea gets it wrong because with Kabbalah, it makes it seem like it's somewhere you go, and it's not that. It's a process. It's like Netzach is not a place you go. I mean, yes, it can be in astral travel, but that's only in Yetzirah. Netzach is a process you live in your life, and it's something that has to be grounded into the real world. I generally am curious. You all seem pretty right-wing. Well, let me ask you, Lumpen Lodge, what leads you to come to that conclusion? I'm curious. Clobber Lang, hey brother, Aussie time zones suck, but glad to tune in again. Congrats for your successful wedding, and I wish you guys all the best. Thank you very much, and thank you for your super chat. Highly appreciated. Let me actually go straight to the super chats because we got a bunch. Dude Guy, thank you very much. Frauder RC, what's up? Thank you so much. The only truly healthy approach I've seen to the Qliphoth is in David Haim Smith's Black Aether book and course. It's contemplative and safe. Oh, that's cool. I like his stuff. I haven't read that book. He's a fascinating guy. I recommend William Gray, and I know you would like this because it's from a Golden Dawn perspective as well. William G. Gray's book, The Tree of Evil, is the book you want to read about the Qliphoth, The Tree of Evil. That book actually it changed my life, actually. Not in the way you think, but in the way he was a ceremonial magician in I think in the Dion Fortune tradition, who just had such a withering view of not just the occult but of the forces of he was calling, as the Golden Dawn did, he was calling it as he saw like these forces of chaos and Qliphoth erupting into the world, and that was a horrible thing. So the Tree of Lies, you can get it. It's free. I think it's on Internet Archive. It's pretty easy to find. Tree of Lies by William G. Gray. Read that, not Kenneth Grant and Thomas Carlson. Dude Guy, thank you again. I'm fascinated with Hinduism and consider myself a part of Advaita Vedanta. Awesome. I've gone to mandirs and done puja ceremonies, but have a hard time finding community and connections. Any advice? Depends on where you live. I would say that Hindu groups are probably the easiest to find community and connections with. There's always Self-Realization Fellowship. There's always Amma. But these things are all cults, right? So you just be aware of that. I'm not averse to a good cult from time to time. I'm really not. Go in, get the information, leave. Never take a job. never agree to doing a job or taking a leadership role or organizational role. That goes for occult groups too. Once they turn you into a middle manager, you're fucked. Self-Realization Fellowship is always a good place to start, and that organization is pretty much everywhere. It's old, it's from the 20s, it's falling apart, but, you can't go wrong with Yogananda. All right. Let's see. I'm paging through the comments here. Oh, thank you, Maria. It said that was a good takedown. I assume of a dark song. Thank you. I also really want to know your answer to Heretical's question. What was Heretical's? You mean the movie Hereditary? Heretical? Oh, Heracles, do you have any thoughts on the Chris Bledsoe story and his encounters with the lady? I have never heard of that, so I have no opinions. Ah, Joker caught the Jesse Lee Peterson reference. I love Jesse Lee Peterson. Sorry, he's great. Beta. Maria says run away. What of 12 different possible things are we running away from? I'm curious. I about died just from the Book of the Law. Obviously wasn't ready. Are we doing tarot polls tonight? Why not? Yeah, we'll do tarot polls. Tell you what, I'll do a super chat goal. We'll do $10 or higher tarot polls. We're just a hangout. This is the Thanksgiving hangout section, so why not? You know what? I'm generous. It's Thanksgiving, so as gratitude to you, my viewers, you get a 3-card reading for $10. Why not? It's Thanksgiving. And you can thank me by going to friday.magic.me. Goetia is best left to gangsta wannabes. It's it's best left to the shock troops of occultism, 20-year-old frustrated guitarists. I am Pope Paul says, I've heard Goetia described as spiritual cocaine, possibly by me. One of my great teachers, Sora Cuculus, said, yeah, it's the cocaine of results magic. It's like, yeah, it'll get results, but you don't want the side effects. The Abramelin messed me up as well. I thought I was going to rush into being the best magi at a young age and clearly wasn't ready for it. Took me down a really crazy path. Luckily came out of it. Well, I will not discourage anyone from doing that. Unlike Goetia. That's the one you want to go for. What people are talking about, the occult to fascist or occult to communist pipeline. Go figure, people on the fringes of society tend to associate with each other. But yeah, the occult to communist pipeline is a pain in the ass. My God. How you can reconcile the law of Thelema with basic ass, like, DSA communism is beyond me, but there you go. What pranayama techniques do you recommend? Read Liber E. Do you believe closing one nostril at a time is necessary or no? It's necessary for that practice. Cleaning is mundane magic and underrated. Yes, absolutely. I swore off Western magic and got into Eastern paths like Advaita and Bhakti, then got into Tantra and Agora and came back to Western magic. Took a while, but I needed to learn you can't just rush. Yeah, no, that's a good way to look at it. The thing, my view is the Eastern paths are very high octane and will get, Eastern paths will, like, let's be clear, Eastern paths will get you into non-dual and enlightenment states relatively very, very quickly. The problem is you just can't integrate it with life in a Western society. It's just not going to work. For the most part. Western magic is much more suited to life in the 21st century West. I have indeed seen Fight Club, yes. The band Coil is PDF files? Indeed they are. What tipped you off? Was it the Anal Staircase album? Was it the Threshold Houseboys Choir? That's true, I forgot about that. Peter Christopherson directed Hansen's first video. Yeah, talk about horrifying. From my experience, porn and weed empower each other as forces against your true will. Don't watch porn. Cut it out. Cut it out, young lads. Or old lads. Cut it out. I was a standard porn addict, as if that's not a bad thing, until I combined weed into the mix, which put me so much further down into things I wasn't ever comfortable with. Let it be a cautionary tale to you all. Don't look at that shit. It's bad for you. It's designed to be bad for you. It's spiritual poison. It's human trafficking also, and it teaches you to see humans as objects. Don't do that. Yes, Goetia for Kids is psychotic. Eyes Wide Shut, good movie. The Third Man. That's a great movie, The Third Man. I don't remember it being a cult, but that's a great film. Glad to hear rational takes on all this stuff. Could have used this 20 years ago. Well, we're here to please. Ren says, I actually started teaching my film safety kids not to fuck with this stuff, not explicitly Goetia, but they're told not to mess with closed practices and trust the logical lessons of local folklore. Yes. Belladonna of Sadness. I have that movie, but I still haven't watched it. I downloaded it, I haven't watched it. Hereditary messed me up. My grandfather is buried in one of the graves they filmed at. I found this out after I started recognizing the area. It still bothers me. Wow. Yeah, I have Datura, but I'm scared to use it. You should be. Don't take Datura. If you want a reason why, go to Erowid.org and read the damn trip reports. Trip reports that include things like, I shit you not, ending up in a hospital with a catheter in your urethra, waking up again and again again and again in an endless Groundhog Day for 24 hours. Don't take Datura. Don't do it. Not even in low doses. What's up from Puerto Rico? How's it going? How's it going, Juan Rivera? I'm actually very, very happy. It's like we get to talk to people all over the world. YouTube is such a cool thing. What is the best documentary on magic ever made? You're never going to learn about magic from a documentary. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So I don't have an answer. Interested to hear your take on Castaneda. I actually talked on the phone to one of Castaneda's witches, Amy Wallace, who was the daughter of the Wallace literary family that wrote Intimate Sex Lives of Famous People, which I ghost wrote several chapters of the new edition for Feral House. And she was part of this whole occult group. Her take on it, I'll share her take, which is the first book was legitimate. He was a UCLA grad student that went down to wherever that happened in Mexico, I think. And Don Juan was real. So the first book is legitimate. Once that book was gigantic bestseller, he made a fuck ton of money. And so obviously his publisher wanted more. And Don Juan wanted more, the actual guy. And so basically what Castaneda started doing is making it up from that point on so that he didn't have to give money to the dude. And so all the other books are just made up. However, the thing, we could even call this the Castaneda effect. There's something to be said, and we know this from doing magic. It's like just because he was making it up doesn't mean that he wasn't necessarily tapping into something real. So, but I think if you want to look at it from a purely academic viewpoint, if you just want to be straight down the line, only the first book is probably accurate. All right, we got some super chats, so I'm gonna do those first and then go back. Okay, let's see. So I see people with $9.99. Did you want a tarot reading, or was it 1 cent less so as not to get a tarot reading? Okay. KS Moon, pull Re My True Will for funsies. All right, let's see. For entertainment purposes only, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take anything too seriously. I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't have any special insight. Okay. Well, this is an interesting one. So this is for KS Moon. First card. Let's see if I can... It might be a little bit tough to see that with the lighting, but this is the Six of Discs, Success. So Luna in Mercury, or excuse me, Luna in Taurus. So success, this would be in the past, okay, followed by, or rather it's prior on timeline, whatever that happens to mean. So prior on timeline of process. Middle card would be Peace, the Two of Swords. Luna in, so again, the moon, Luna in, God damn it, I'm brain farting. I think Luna in Libra. Okay, Luna in Libra. So, yeah, so let me flip those around. So, peace, or success followed by peace, followed by the Hermit, which is Yod in Virgo. Okay, so to me, what this represents, is I'm fucking it up, hold on. Come on. Yeah. This is stupid. Come on, Jason. It's the reverse. Okay, so to me, what this would represent is outward. Come on, it's the reverse camera. Outward success in life, or whatever that means to you, followed by peace. So this to me represents the successful completion of the outer life, followed by the period of solitude and hermetic going within, right? So this to me represents like a life well lived and outer duties completed, followed by the inward journey. So that's a pretty good one, I think. Pretty good reading. Hopefully that resonates. Okay. Thank you, Jason. At a crossroads in career, an exit I was hoping for didn't pan out today. My question is something better on the horizon. Something better is always on the horizon. Spoiler. But let's see. Okay. Okay, so first card, Ruin. My God. Yes. Sol and Gemini. So we've got Ten of Swords, Ruin. So this would perhaps represent the exit you were hoping for, not panning out. I'm just going to do one at a time, so I'm not shuffling them. Followed by the Sun, perhaps representing freedom or internal illumination. Or rather, the Sun always reminds me of of remembering that you're free. This would be the present. Remember that you're free. The whole universe is open to you. Every path is open to you. You know, your self-worth is not determined by a job opportunity. Followed by Power. Sun in Capricorn, the Four of Discs. So I would say that, yes, and this, of course, representing stability in material success, and it's a castle. So that is, could also be an office building or a new house, but possibly a big office. Yes, something better is on the horizon. But the key here is this is two children dancing under the sun, representing the freedom of remembering the freedom of the inner child, perhaps, but being open to receiving as well. So remember that you are always inherently liberated. Great luck with the next opportunity. Okay, let's see. Well, we got a few more. Thank you, Frauder. Happy Thanksgiving to all you Yanks. All the best from Canuckland. Kongsom Pax, Light and Extension, and a hearty LVX to you as well, Frauder. Thank you very much. Ann Henry, $20. Okay, do you want a reading? I need a question. Ren, thank you. For sheer curiosity, what should my biggest takeaways of 2025 be? Oh, Chaos Moon says the reading resonates. Excellent, excellent. That's not the right reading. I spent high school playing nickel ante poker and ended up losing $80. This $80 was, I'm convinced of it, necessary only to teach me how to shuffle cards properly to read tarot. All right. Okay. First, gain. This is the Nine of Discs. Venus in Capricorn, or excuse me, Venus in Virgo. Followed by the Hierophant, which is Vow and Taurus, followed by the Princess of Swords. Interesting. So, not knowing your situation and taking these potentially not in sequence, since you're asking your biggest takeaways, and that's not a sequence question. Gain, so financial stability, wealth, and ability to this is, of course, career, but financial stability, lessons learned in financial stability. Lessons learned teaching, I believe, I think I saw, if I gather from your some of your comments, that I believe you said something about having students. So teaching or learning, right? Education. Followed by Princess of Swords, which is, of course, attacking the world with strong self-determination, perhaps, but being in an analytical fashion. I hope that resonates. All right. Willie Todd says, pull my cards. I'm going to need a question, bruh. But thank you for the super chat. Let me know what your question is. Dude Guy, I'd like to know if I should pursue a serious relationship next year and if it's a possibility in the first place. Okay. All right, I will do that, and then I will go back and answer questions, and I will look for question clarifications from the people that I asked for question clarifications from. Okay. Very curious. We have the Chariot, which represents the great work. Interesting. So this would perhaps be your own dedication to the spiritual path. We have Death, which we know represents the death of the ego, which of course comes with any relationship, prior to and during. And then we have Strife. It suggests to me that you should probably focus on your own I hate to be reductive, but personal development. It suggests to me that you should be focusing on your own spiritual path and the death of expectations and of overcoming your own internal resistances, blockages, and I can say this because I know you're an actual spiritual practitioner, but overcoming of your own flaws and personality defects. And you know that I'm not saying that personally because this is what we all have to do on the spiritual path. So this is this is, by the way, the way to get into a good relationship is focus on yourself and killing off that which does not, let's say personality defects revealed in prior relationships. Okay, I'm going to go back and I saw there's one more I will come to. Let me look through questions a little bit. Oh, Maria says Tree of Evil is a classic. Yeah, I love that one. William Gray's great. Oh, the NAS was released in hardcover. Oh, excellent. We'll definitely go get that. Oh, and somebody clarifies the guy who wrote the NAS, so Tom Beach, was an estranged Franklin Jones follower. Well, that makes perfect sense then. So that was what I assumed was going on. He never says that, but Franklin Jones was the real name of Adida. I have an ex whose dad was in that cult as well. Yeah, the NAS was put out by DC. Well, that's where did you find out about that? I'm curious. Do you like any early occult themed silent films like Cabinet of Dr. Caligari? Yeah, of course. Nosferatu, there was a Fraternitas Saturni member did the set design on the original Nosferatu. I'm going to have to get that hardcover. I have the issues. Newer to the channel, I hear things that give right-wing impressions as well. I'm a lefty, but I'm here for the magic knowledge. Just look past things you don't drive. So, again, I'm asking, what exactly is it? Because you can't just throw out buzzwords here. Let me hear an exact critique from you on an exact idea. Instead of just saying right-wing, left-wing, what I want to hear from you is something that I've said that you disagree with, why you disagree with it, and then I want you to back it up with sources, or at least a good argument. Let's hear it, okay? Instead of throwing out labels, let's talk about the ideas. Instead of saying this person, because saying, oh, this person has this idea, so they're that, fucking lazy, man. It's just lazy. We should be able to discuss ideas on their own. So and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. But instead of just being like, blah, you're this, you're that, what did I say? And for the love of God, accurately represent what I said, okay? Tell me what your disagreement is with it, but make it rational and reasoned through. Make it an actual argument, and then back it up. That's your challenge. And in that, you will learn more by focusing less on what other people think and learning how to sharpen what you think. Really enjoyed the documentary on Yogananda. I saw that too. I liked it. It's obviously it's a puff piece, but I enjoy. I saw that in the theater actually in WeHo. I'm in the Chicago area, so I'm mostly versed with Swami Vivekananda. That's a great place to start. That's a great place to start. He didn't teach techniques, but damn, he taught really good philosophy. SRF are based out of the old jam space in Vancouver I used to share with Katie Lang's drummer, says Frauder. I should go actually check them out. Go check out the energy. I used to live on the grounds of Self-Realization Fellowship in LA for 4 years, right next to the big blue Scientology building. Amazing. Your thoughts on Paul Foster Case and Boda. Check it out, read it, decide what you think. I don't think he went... He didn't. It was basically what he was teaching was tarot meditation. But you know what? I've known multiple people who have been doing much more high octane systems. whether it's, ceremonial magic, chaos magic, things like that. And they do that tarot course, which I've never done, but they do it as well on the side for like 12 years or however long it takes. And it kind of is a nice, calm padding out of the rest of the stuff they're doing. So there was a weird Urantia cult when I lived in Sedona. Sedona. What'd you expect? They tried to recruit my wife and I at the time. Oh man, how'd they do that? Yeah, Tom Veitch also wrote Dark Empire for Star Wars. He wrote a ton of stuff, and his brother Rick Veitch also wrote Swamp Thing for quite a while, the Veitch brothers. There was a David Bowie movie that was super cool. Yeah, Man Who Fell to Earth, another favorite. I have not heard the Mars Volta's album. I'd read, Frater says, this is one rare time when I apologize, or I'm going to have to disagree, although I don't know exactly the thrust of your comment, so I won't assume, but I'd read Gia Sophia by Jake Stratton-Kent for a new perspective on Goetia. Jake Stratton-Kent got really, really hyped up with his books on Goetia and taking a whole new perspective on it and Lost Secrets. I read the things. Spoiler alert, the big revelation is that you have to sell your soul to the devil first. I got into a punch-up with Jake Stratton-Kent in about 2015 on Facebook over I don't remember what. I think I was just saying people shouldn't traffic with demons. That was when I was in my hard angelic phase doing my John D work. And he threatened to curse me and all this, and like he was going to burn my shit down, and he was insinuating he was going to curse me with all his magic Goetia power. Jake Stratton-Kent is dead. I am alive and doing quite well. In the words of Jesse Lee Peterson, I rest my case. I'm a Gnostic communist. You poor thing. You poor thing. You must have watched too much James Lindsay or something. What a confusing place to be for you. What do I recommend for astral? If you're not good at visualization, look up image streaming. Not mbop. Yeah. Porn is worse than drugs. I agree. Depends on... it is. Porn is a drug, okay? It is a drug. It fucks with your brain. And it involves, much like hard drugs, involves quite a lot of human suffering in the production and supply chain. Yeah, do not use Datura. Caffeine's a good drug, yeah. You should not rely on it. You should not rely on drugs. It's that simple. It would be a lie to say that magicians haven't throughout all history experimented with them, but if you were dependent on them, and I take Peter Carroll's line on this, you done goofed. There was a band called Saliva. Thoughts on them, especially their song Badass. Hello in Mexico, Zero. I'm from Mexico. What's up? What do you think about fictional worlds and astral traveling to those places or worlds? Give it a shot. You definitely could, but it's the same as mythology is the same, right? But it's the same advice from Libero applies. Don't take it too seriously. The astral is not a big deal. It only seems like a big deal if, when you're first into it, but give it a shot. I am Pope Paul says, I know people that have met the actual Don Juan, even though that wasn't his name. Fascinating. I'm curious to know more about that if you want to share. Chogyam Trungpa is worth looking into. I remind everyone that Chogyam Trungpa, though he has a lot of great stuff to say, Chogyam Trungpa died of cirrhosis of the liver. He was a drunk. He was a sexual abuser, and so is his son, who recently got burned down. The whole of Shambhala has been collapsing over the last several years because Trungpa's son has carried on the bad behavior of his father. Trungpa crashed was drunk once and crashed his car into a magic store. Interesting symbolism there. And like a stage magic store. Local spirits having a word with him? I don't know. But remember, Trungpa, when he died, appointed as his Vajra regent, his replacement, Osel Tenzin, a Western devotee who proceeded to give everyone AIDS in the entire group. So by their work ye shall know them. You meant 10. Okay, great. All right, so Maria, do you want a question, or do you just want... So with the people who put 10 in but not a question, please give me a question, or just tell me you want a blank reading with no prompt. Where do I donate for a reading? In the super chat area, wherever that is. It's somewhere on the page. What's up, Alex? I don't know what life path numbers are, but the only numerology I'm interested in is gematria, and that only up to a certain point. 2 reasons I don't do magic: tarot and astrology. So you're just like hanging out? Okay, whatever. Ann Henry says, I'd like to know what I need to know. Okay, why not? Let's just give it a shot. These are huge Thoth cards, by the way, and it is not difficult for me to box shuffle them. Okay, so Ann Henry wants to know what she wants to know. Well, you're going to get what you get. But sure, why not? Okay. Your cards are Science, which is a Mercury in Aquarius, the 6 of Swords, Science, followed by Completion, which is Venus in Aries, the 4 of Wands, Science, Completion, and finally, the Queen of Cups. Interesting. These 2 cards definitely seem to be speaking to each other, don't they? The drawing to a point. Science and completion of drawing, it suggests drawing forces to a point, whether that's professional or otherwise, followed by the Queen of Cups, which is always perhaps represents you. These tend to represent actual people, and Cups is, of course, receptive. So perhaps bringing your life to via science, bringing your life to a point of single focus, which will allow you to receive further guidance from the universe. And that's what I have to say, without knowing your actual question. I hope that that is helpful. How true is it that Lucifer can't be contacted in America as he's a European deity? No. I don't understand any premise in that, sorry. Patricia says, you're amazing, good to see you back. Thank you, Patricia. Which stole my Thoth deck? I need to get another. Uh-oh. Steve, this is a good question. Steve says, I'm newish to tarot, but I feel like readings to others is not the same as pulling your own cards and making the interpretations yourself. Am I wrong on that? Not necessarily. You can do that. I tend to prefer the I Ching for individual self-readings because it's a little bit harder to fudge and misinterpret. Clobber Lang says, 2025 shows how wild and interesting this Kali Yuga is. We are not in the Kali Yuga. Spoiler alert. Yes, you actually have to try. We're in the Dvapara Yuga. The numbers were recalculated in the 1800s by Swami Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda's guru from the original Vedic sources. We left the Kali Yuga in 1750. corresponding with the dawn of science. The Dwapara Yuga is an upward arc out of the Kali Yuga, and it is when we are still bound to material, heavy karmic conditions, shall we say. But it is a time where people are awakening through the use of, instead of blind faith, the use of science and, let's say, scientific approaches to spirituality. People want to know. They want to know more about the universe on their own effort, and that is a sign of positive growth and progress. So, yeah, I don't want to hear no more about the Kali Yuga. It's just a cop-out. You got to try. There's work to be done. Always good to see you here, Frauder. Thank you again, dude guy. Ren says that the reading checks out. Okay, excellent. How is it possible for a magician... Molly says, how the F is it possible for a magician to have a relationship? Just like everyone else, by getting over yourself, working on yourself, understanding what you want and don't want, and showing up and realizing that it's about giving, not getting. Same as everybody else. Eva Ashwood says it's possibility we got singles on both sides in the chat. We halfway there. Yeah, join the Discord. I'm happily married. But, if people want to meet, we've got a great magical community here. If people want it, this might be a good place to meet people. Why not? Join the Discord. People are talking about Husserl, which I'm not licensed to speak on. Okay, Litz Jams says guidance on how to uproot and where to move. Okay. Actually, I'm going to go forward because I want to make sure that people... Let's see if Maria got her question in. Because I don't want people to be waiting forever. You don't need a reading. I'll give you one. I'm happy to give you one. It'd be an honor, but if you don't want one, that's fine too. But thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Thank you, Maria. Okay, guidance on how to uproot and where to move. Again, for entertainment purposes only. Don't take any of it too seriously. I'm just some guy on the internet. And we're not in the same room, so, Guidance on how to uproot and where to move. Okay. First, interference. What is currently interfering from your move? What is currently keeping you from uprooting and moving? Because clearly you want to. All right, so first guidance is get rid of what's blocking you. And spoiler, it's always internal. It's always internal. So you need to find what the internal resistance to the move is. The resistance also, in addition to being internal, is almost always hanging on to something or usually someone that you don't want to let go of. Often because you're trying to save them. Don't do that. Followed by dominion, understanding that once you let go of that external interference, you have total dominion over your own physical reality and your life. Once you understand that, the universe is your oyster. There you have it. Get rid of the internal interference. Remember, you're in control of your life. And then you choose. I can't choose for you. Willie Todd, okay. Well, first of all, don't put yourself down like that. He says a derogatory term towards himself. How do I get out of this lifelong mess I've created? Sure, that's a usable question. Well, first off, stop being so hard on yourself. Okay. First card, cruelty. As I can tell from your question, self-inflicted. Mars and Gemini, Nine of Swords. Quit being cruel to yourself. The second you pull the knife out that the second you pull the knife out of yourself that you yourself are sticking into yourself, things become a lot clearer. And that's when the cruelty, which again is the Nine of Swords, when you take that, I'm looking at a mirror image of myself, this is why this is happening. When you take the dagger out, you realize you have the sword of truth. Once you take the dagger out of your side, instead of tormenting yourself, you realize you got a knife, you got a sword. The Ace of Swords, in fact, and that is what you use for discernment and determining one thing from another. Excalibur. Perhaps a better way to put this is, rather than pulling Excalibur out of the stone, maybe you should pull it out of your side and wield it. And once you do that, you have success. Again, the light's kind of blowing it out, but this is Six of Discs, Luna in Taurus. All the planets are represented in this one, surrounding the Rosy Cross. Pull the knife out of your side, wield it, and success shall be yours. Stop tormenting yourself. Direct the energy outward instead of inward. Dude guy says, dead on? Okay, excellent. Excellent. I'm seeing lots of questions, but I apologize. I can only do readings for the super chats. What are you pleasing, Maria? Oh, Tom Veach had a forum for disgruntled ex-Adi.cult members? Please send me the link to that. I have to see that. I have to see that. I've heard you support Israel a lot. I do support Israel. And? Your point being? Remember, I didn't say... Did I say... I said the following. Tell me what... And represent my position correctly. What exactly is it that I said that you disagree with? What is your counter-argument? Clearly, and actually make an argument, not blah, just spouting, and back it up. You look like you might sit on a rocking chair on a porch with a shotgun and iced tea. Don't tempt me. Friend of... Oh, I assume the oh please was to the right-wing thing. Friend of Baphomet, I really think people get blinded to truths by the abstractions they're attached to. Also, there's this tendency to relate to political ideologies as a package deal. Yeah, like we were saying on the stream yesterday, people don't engage with ideas at all anymore. They simply see ideas as tribal markers. And that is like the essence of retardation. It really is. Any advice for selecting a marriage partner? I cannot give advice on that. I have to say, man, I'm not. I can't give advice on that. It's too personal. Yes, Temple says I highly recommend the shit libs to watch yesterday's stream. Yeah, read that. Read that comment. Watch the stream. Think critically. Have I encountered Swamiji Dayananda? Maybe, but I can't remember. Okay, so Temple says she has advice for selecting a marriage partner. Maybe we will do a stream on love. Maybe we'll do that around Valentine's Day. Yeah, I would really have to get my thoughts together on that. You know, and my basic advice is focus on doing your true will, and the rest will follow. What are my thoughts on Enochian magic? Well, I wrote a whole book about it, John Dee and the Empire of Angels. It's almost 600 pages. Those are my thoughts on Enochian magic. I recommend checking it out. Jin Ginny is okay. If anyone is having issues with their course, they bought the courses and they're not attributing to their magic.me, it's because you need to sign up with the same email. You need to put your magic.me account when you purchase the course. It says that on the page, but sometimes people type wrong. The advice, the email for magic.me support is support@magic.me. Or you can you can also message on the Discord, but it's support@magic.me, and we'll help you out as soon as we can. Oh, Frauder says, so Jake Stratton can. I think it's an interesting reframing. Didn't mean the pack with the devil stuff. So what was the reframe? So my basic contention, outside of the devil thing, my basic contention with Jake Stratton Ken's take on it was that he was trying to turn Goetia into a religion. Like basically what he was, and not only, it was part of a larger movement at the time that Peter Carroll was participating in as well, to remove Neoplatonism from magic, Neoplatonism. How that's a good idea, I don't understand. I mean, it's basically they were trying to make a innocent. They were trying to make, I may represent this wrong, but basically they were trying to de-essentialize magic and make it purely, postmodern essentially. And they were trying to make an argument that there's no essentialism in magic, but that then essentially therefore. And, Peter Carroll was always big on this. You don't need to do the vertical ascent. You can just worship the Goetia, right? To get more results magic. Retarded. Lots of fancy thinking for a real retarded end. But I'm curious what the reframing that you took insight from was. I would pay to see Jason on Jesse Lee Peterson's show. Yes. Okay, Willie Todd, what is my biggest obstacle in pursuit of my true will? And then I think I will cap it at 10 super chats, because I've done a lot of these. Okay. Okay, so biggest obstacle in pursuit of your true will. Okay. Again, entertainment purposes only. Okay. Interesting. This is an interesting reading. It's all cups. It's all cups. Wow. Love. Okay, biggest obstacle, you've got Knight of Cups on one side and Prince of Cups on the other. So these are two male receptive. These are the two images of male stages of life, in receptive and love, cups in the middle. You need to be more receptive. You need to accept, and specifically you need to accept love, both from other people and from the universe. That's a pretty clear reading. That's your biggest obstacle. Receive. It's not something that you're not doing. It's something that you're not paying attention to and something that you're not receiving. You need to be open to receiving. Be open to receiving. There you have it. Okay, thank you, Maria. Heard Trunkfoot drove into a joke shop. It was a magic shop. It was a joke, probably magic trick and joke shop. And my theory is that there's nothing he did on accident. I believe he kind of dedicated his life to a path similar to Native American Heyokas. If he did nothing on accident, if we accept your premise, then that means he married He didn't marry a 16-year-old girl on accident. He didn't become an alcoholic by accident. He wasn't a sexual abuser by accident. He didn't teach his son to become an alcoholic sexual abuser by accident. And he didn't appoint as a successor a guy who gave his entire student group AIDS as an accident. I'm just following your premise. That's not my commentary. I'm just following your premise. I've been into the fourth way. What are your thoughts on that? Not enough experience to say. Thank you, Christian. Charlie. Being a Buddhist monk in high school for 2 summers at the Bhavana Society Theravada Temple in West Virginia and studying Taoism is what made me communist. And I'm using communist and or anarchist. Okay, first of all, those are 2 different things, so get it straight. Second of all, that's wonderful that you had a cool communist Buddhist experience. How do you feel about all the communists that murdered Buddhists in Vietnam? Theravada Buddhists, by the way. Things that make you go, There's more happening in the world than your precious opinions about things. The guy I know who met Don Juan is an old Heyoka I met at a Dakota Sundance. Interesting. Oh, you went to a Sundance? That's pretty fucking hardcore. That's pretty hardcore. Props. I don't have enough to say about the fourth way to sound interesting, unfortunately. Okay, blank 3-card reading for blank 3-card reading for Tim. And this is the Okay. Wow, there's like 4 more. Okay. No more super chats, okay? I'll do these. I guess it went past 10. This is it. Oh man. Okay, there's like a ton more to do. Blank 3-card reading. Okay. Charlie, cut it out. Okay. Hello, Charles. Special cameo appearance. Ah! This machine kills communists. Lasers. Ah. All right, let's see. Blank 3-card reading. Strife, the lover's end defeat. Relationship troubles. Go within. The answers are within. Work upon thyself. Okay. I'm not a Marxist-Leninist. I'm more into Trotsky. I mostly agree with Marx, but I disagree with the limitations of dialectical materialism. This is the great game that communists play. Like, none of their shit works. Like, I'm sorry to single you out, but you said enough stuff like directed at me that it's only fair game. Okay, this is the game that Marxists and communists play. None of their shit works or makes sense, or is applicable in the real world. So what they do is endlessly split hairs over Marxist theory in almost rabbinical fashion, talking about the differences between the slight differences between theories that are essentially fundamentally worthless at their core. They play paper chase instead of admitting that their shit don't work. A commercial came on for me as soon as you said we're not in the Kali Yuga. Lol. Why is a commercial Kali Yuga? What is a commercial? It means that humans are doing trade. And they're not slaves. That's a good thing. I don't know anything about Glenn Danzig, but thank you for the super chat. It definitely helps the magician in a relationship. Shiva even had a relationship, that's right. Joshua Michael says, love your content. Louv, thank you. I have a question about practice. Whenever I do banishing rituals, I feel like it balances. But when I do LIRP, LIRH, I end up feeling spun out and weird. Did you try the banishing forms of those rituals? Oh, well, pentagram. Did you try the banishing ritual of the hexagram? Yeah, those rituals bring in energy. You have to balance it. So go slow. Peace, Baba J. What's up? How important is geomancy and Golden Dawn practice? Frauder RC is the guy to ask about that. It was essentially a side, I think it was a side quest in the Golden Dawn, but it's definitely interesting. Geomancy in Golden Dawn is not the same as Eastern geomancy, where people are looking at ley lines and things like that. It's a divination method where people draw points with a pencil, essentially. Yes, join the Discord. The Discord. Ren says the Discord is a blast, and Temple has killer memes. What are my thoughts on Barden's system? It's super interesting. It is derivative of Golden Dawn and OTO, which he doesn't say, although it clearly is. But I work in some of Initiation into Hermetics into Adept Initiative 1. Suddenly, this has become a chat about Glenn Danzig somehow. Maria says the liberals kvetching. Yes, yes. I'm still waiting for the clear argument, guys. What exactly did I say and represent it correctly that you disagree with? Tell me why you, and that's fine, but tell me why you disagree with it with a clear argument, and then and then give me backup as to why. If you're so clear, if you're so certain in your that I'm wrong and you're right, if you're so certain in your political beliefs, then you should be able to do that with at least one thing I've said. Let's hear it. Hello? Okay, these are, again, the last readings. Adam Sleep says, enjoy watching your videos. Thank you for the reading. I'm curious about the outlook for my love life this upcoming year. Thanks. Okay, let's give it a shot. Charlie is warping reality here. Charles is the inner head of the order, as I am the outer head. All right. Okay, I'm gonna do instead of shuffling at this point, I'm gonna do random polls. It's a lot easier. Okay. Outlook on your love life. All right. First, Ace of Wands. I think you know what this means. Next, cruelty. Quit your self-abuse. Then you will be the Prince of Cups. You will be open to receiving. Okay? I won't spell this out for you. I think you know what this means. That's pretty the Ace of Wands is pretty self-explanatory. Cruelty. Quit abusing it. Then and only then will you be ready to receive. Very direct. Patricia Alvarez, PYG. What is PYG? Is that like Philippines? I'm curious. Oh, Paraguay. Wow. What's up? This is so cool. YouTube is so cool. Hello in Paraguay. This is awesome. All right. I'd like to know what is keeping me from exploding my potential, artistic mainly. All right, let's take a look. Let's see. We'll have Charlie bless the deck too for extra power. Charles, bless the deck. If he's not into it. Wait. All right. Come on, Charlie. I'll just rub it on you. Okay. Who's a good boy? All right. All right. Interesting. Okay. This seems to be more of a reading on how to explode your artistic potential. First, science. So craft. Master your craft. Okay. Second, lust. This means, in your case, put your vital life energy into your work. Put your, I don't want to be as crass as to say sexual energy because that can be too blatant, but more like your internal, you have to put your internal biological drive into your art. You know, put your reproductive drive into your art. Use all of your vital life forces. And of course, it also simply means passion, right? Be passionate. Be passionate about your craft with everything that you are. And this will lead to abundance. The three of cups. Getting lots of cups in these readings. Lots of messages to people to being open to reception. Yeah, I think so. So master your craft. So instead of what's keeping you from it, it's like you just buckle down on these things. Master your craft. Put your passion into it in every sense that means. Okay, we'll just that's a better way to say it. Master your craft, then put your passion into it in every sense of that word, and this will lead to abundance. Excellent reading, I think. I hope you like that. Does the Thanksgiving holiday have any occult history? Not that I'm aware of. Chris Farad, $20. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Maria said, yeah, like taking Neoplatonism out of magic. Like what? Like, what? Everyone just wants an excuse to be doing Goetia. That's what it all boils down to. Have I met Lon Milo Duquette? Many times, and you can go to, I actually we did a course together, or rather he did a course and I produced it for him, which is at tarot.magic.me. This is not on sale for Black Friday, but it is, it's very good. If you, Torat, like Lorat. There you go. tarot.magic.me. If you want more lawn. All right. But that's not on sale for Black Friday. What you really want to do is go to this link. I couldn't get through Carol's later books like Octavo and Apophenian. Too much math for me to wrap my head around. I couldn't either, but I should probably pick those up at some point. Yeah, Burger Time. Alan Watts, another liver failure guy. Funny how that works. Black Lodge. You want to hear about the Black Lodge? Let's see. Buddhists who preach that life is suffering and empty and then drink themselves to death? Not so romantic in real life, is it? It's support@magic.me. If that still doesn't work, please contact us on the Discord. Okay, so Frauder RC says, I just thought it was interesting to see how Stratton Kent liberates the Goetia from its limited grimoire frameworks and connected them back to the natural traditions from which they came. I have an interesting comment about this from a different angle that is not about the Western magical tradition. When I was in Kathmandu in the mid-2000s, I, of course, went to all the bookstores, and you've never seen such collections of just like all this esoteric Tibetan stuff, shit you can't get here, just the most wild stuff, most of which was not in English. Just like these epic shelves of books on like a cosmic like cosmic Vajrayana stuff that just fucks with your mind just to look at, along with Tonkas of like maps of the universe made by, all this insane stuff. Just like it's like looking at it's literally like looking at Doctor Strange's library. Okay, even if you want to take it as like the Doctor Strange movie where he does go to Kathmandu. And then and then stashed in a few places were a couple books on black magic. And it was just like black magic here, just real dumb. It was like, oh, here's a thing on how to hex a cow. Here's a thing on how to make your neighbor's cow not do milk. Here's a thing on how to like win a court case. And it's like, that's kind of how I feel. It's like interesting to see that because that's basically the position that Grimoire magic takes in our culture. You have black magic, Grimoire magic comes from a fundamental place of not trusting the universe. I mean, think about it. It comes from a place of thinking that you need to take criminal action against the universe to get your needs met. So you've already lost before you even started. You've already lost the game because the fundamental presupposition that you've accepted is that the universe hates you and that only demons will listen to you because you're not worthy of higher aid. That's the fundamental presupposition before you even open the book. Another example would be like if people remember the pickup artists, right? When pickup artists were all over the place, and they did that book, The Game, and all that, which is full of techniques on essentially how to trick women into liking you. What's the fundamental presupposition? Why are they losing straight out the gate before they even open the book? The fundamental presupposition is they're not worthy of love, and they have to trick women into even liking them. So they're already fucking themselves quite literally straight out the gate with the fundamental presupposition. And in the Eastern context, when you compare that approach to, okay, now you've got the secrets of the cosmos on this shelf, it becomes really clear in context. And I think that was there a Goetic, does Goetia go back to Greece? Sure, and like, so what, right? Neoplatonism also goes back to Greece, and it's a hell of a lot more useful. Particularly, it's like the difference between actually doing the Golden Dawn system and just like doing some blah, blah, blah from a Arthur Waite book. Another take on that, and I think this is kind of my final take on Goetia in the Western magical tradition, is that when Dee and Kelly contacted the angels, they basically they said all the grimoires are fake. They literally say that. And that's why they give them all the corrected versions of the things in like the Armadale and all of that, and Liber Juratus. Basically what they say, in so many words, what they say is, and I'm paraphrasing, but what they say is all these grimoires and this is quite hilarious. I think this may have been part of when I got into the fight with Jake Stratton Kent, because like online people were all like fucking going hog wild about mug grimoire tradition and we're getting away from Thelema and doing grimoires. Okay, good for you. No Neoplatonism, only grimoires. Okay, well, how's that going? Nobody even seems to take that approach anymore. Right? I think that, but the angels, so this was interesting. The angels say all the grimoires are wrong, and basically what they are, in so many words, is a bunch of monkeys making scribbles trying to approximate the actual architecture of the universe. And the example is they take the like crappily drawn sigillum in Liber Juratus, and they're like, here's the sigillum de Ameth, which looks like a microchip diagram. And I believe that. I think that checks out, So that's my take on it. And anyways, but yeah, I mean, were they connected to natural traditions? Maybe. But again, you notice what he's trying to do there, what he's really saying there perhaps is, again, like Goetia can be its own tradition. And there's always an effort with those things to represent Goetia as something that it's not. So that's my take on that. Friend of Baphomet. So he wanted to jettison the philosophical foundation and reduce magic to a pact with a mythological figure. How's that postmodern at all? It's a little more complex than that. I mean, I think I already explained that quite well. You're also assuming that any of this makes sense in anything but the minds of the people coming up with it. All right, absolute last one. Absolute last one. Will I be a good leader? Okay, let's see. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats. This will be my last tarot reading for tonight. I'm still waiting. Like, did anyone? Well, we'll see. We'll see in the chat if anyone actually had comments, any points to make. Okay, will I be a good leader? I hate to break this to you. There's a couple ways to look at this, but I see. Remember, for entertainment purposes only, I'm just a person on the internet. We have disappointment, defeat, and the fool. It would be tempting just to say no, but I don't think that's the message here. The message is you're asking the wrong question. The message is you're asking the wrong question. Again, I don't know the context of that, but this is similar to some of the relationship readings that I've done. Charlie, quit licking your butthole. Come on. This is some of the basically, I think the message here is you're asking the wrong question. You need to go internal more, and whatever the context of this is, you need to ask yourself why exactly it is. What are you trying to lead? Why are you trying to lead? What is the role you're being put into? Is it something that you're just opting into, or is it actually something you're supposed to do? So this suggests that you're misguided in the asking of the question. It doesn't mean that you won't be a good leader or not, or vice versa, right? It means that you're approaching the question wrong. This is my reading for you. Okay. All right. Last tarot reading. Thank you, everyone, for the very generous super chats. And let's see if we have any funny comments. Dude guy says they weren't real communist. Yeah, the endless, like Marxism is just the endless, iterative, no true Scotsman argument. Enio says, what about all the war crimes the U.S. carried out in Vietnam? Okay, and what's your point? That wasn't the point. That's moving the goalposts. It's a false equivalence. And? Okay. Oswald says, to what extent do you differentiate the Israeli state from the Orthodox establishment? I don't even know, even though you type that in all caps, I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the Haredi? If you're talking about the Orthodox Jews in Israel, the Haredi, the Israeli state is actually quite annoyed with them often because they don't conscript, and they've changed that recently. So we could talk about the politics of that, but otherwise I have no idea what you're talking about. I am Pope Paul. Bro, sun dancing was the hardest and most beautiful experience of my life. That's wild. Props to that. So for those who don't know, what sun dancing involves, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's a Native American ritual, Lakota ritual, where you have a tree, you have a bunch of ropes coming from the tree with hooks on them that you put into your skin, and then I think something like you swing around and eventually rip the skin off and rip off. Or you may hang, there may be something where you're like on it for like 24 hours or something like that. It's some wild shit. So props to you for doing that. Support at magic.me gets bounced back. Okay, damn, this is good learnings. Okay, so you use the chaos, okay, or the support at Zendesk. Try both, okay? Try support at magic.me and try support at magicme.zendesk.com. Yeah, Temple, whataboutisms. Yeah, I mean, the fact that I don't have more experience in Gurdjieff is solely my fault alone, right? And I'm sure I'll get there when I get there. Oh no, people are giving you money, Jason. Whatever will you do? What does that mean? Okay, so you're just going, the NEO's just going off about French colonialists, Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah, we know all that shit. Duh. Duh. But that wasn't what we were talking about. Quit shifting, quit shifting. That wasn't what we were talking about. We were talking about communists attacking what we were talking about is you were saying that you became communist by studying Theravada, and I was saying, well, the communists and the Khmer Rouge murdered quite a lot of Theravada Buddhist monks. You may recall one of them lit themselves on fire. So your response is obviously you refuse to engage with that, which proves my point that you're confused as fuck and you don't know what you're talking about. And by your distracting and going off about U.S. imperialism. Yeah, we know all that shit, bro. But that's not what we're talking about. Yeah, whataboutisms are fallacious. Thank you. What is whataboutisms? Whataboutisms is when you make a point and somebody's like, well, what about this? What about that? I'm like, what I'm saying, like, you know, again, this person is saying that they became communist by studying Theravada. I said, well, that doesn't really check out with how this actually works in the real world, as communists murdered quite a lot of Theravada Buddhists brutally. And his response was, what about this? What about what about everything bad the U.S. did in Vietnam? What about it? That's not what we're talking about. That's whataboutisms. Another classic one is if somebody criticizes something on the left, somebody says, well, what about this that the right is doing, or vice versa. That's not an argument. It's just distraction. Yeah, Matzel says, a man's attitude goes some ways to the way his life will be. The cowboy in Mulholland Drive. I think Mitch Horowitz loves that scene, and it's totally true. Mic drop on the communists, yeah. Cranberry sauce, yay or nay? Yes, I bought some today. Temple says the fact that people are openly communist boggles the mind given the history. It's literally the same as saying you're a Nazi, LMFAO. Yeah, well, actually quite worse, since the Nazis, I think, murdered, 10 million people, and the death toll on communism in the 20th century is well over 100 million people. But for some reason, that doesn't count because they were on the left. I mean, this is an argument you've heard before. This is not like a clever argument. This is an argument that like every standard like Fox News watching person says. I'm not saying that's me, right? I don't watch Fox News. But it's like that's a standard argument against communism that is a good argument, right? It's like, but people consistently forget it. Frauder says, geomancy is pretty big, especially expanding it into sigil and talismanic work in the inner order. Fascinating. I might have to come up and do some temple initiations with you at some point, just for fun. We get tested on geomancy extensively to many people's chagrin. Via Malana Daji, one of my greatest teachers, hated communism. Yeah, I mean, I got one thing to say for you about communism, okay? Tibet. The fate of Tibet. Any spiritual practitioner who wants to support communism, take a look at what Mao did to Tibet and tell me that's what you want. And if that's what you want, you're my enemy. And it's that simple. It's that simple. You can't like did you miss the part where did you miss the religion is poison argument? Did you miss that? They made it pretty clear. Did you miss the whole thing about historical materialism, where religion is unacceptable and is an opiate of the masses and is simply there to dope the working classes, which history has shown is just simply not true? It's actually quite the opposite. It's a mobilizing force that can resist totalitarianism. I did a whole video on this. I did a couple. It's that simple. Tibet. Jason, from all your studies, practices, and paths you've walked, excuse me, have you come to the conclusion that it all leads to one must find and follow their true will? I thought for a second that you meant that it all leads to one place, which no, I don't think so. Example, Islam, clearly not. I will say that for myself, I am perfectly happy with the Book of the Law I am perfectly happy with that framework, having investigated so many different religions. And for myself, at least, the answer is yes. For everybody is none of my business. But for myself, the answer is yes. I'm not a Barton purist, but he has some great stuff in his books. Yeah, you should definitely read Barton and form your own opinion. He's worth reading and engaging with. That's for sure. Yeah, Fraud RC is pointing out that classically hexagram rituals were only practiced after the Adeptus Minor initiation in the Golden Dawn. You are right-wing because of your shaved head, glasses, and goatee. Okay. I'm assuming that's a joke. What are your thoughts on Christopher Hyatt? His Undoing Yourself book opened my eyes a bit. Ever run into him or related folks? I never met Christopher Hyatt. His students were... I've met some of his students. They definitely went down that sociopath, psychopath angle, which is just totally antisocial, which leads nowhere. I think that Hyatt's influence was a lot bigger in the occult when I first joined it, when I was first, joining groups and things like that in the late 90s and early 2000s. Hyatt's influence was a lot more prevalent. I have the complete Golden Dawn book signed by him. I think that you can get stuff from his work just like everyone. He seemed like a fairly unpleasant person, but whatever. His son, however, who was at one point running original Falcon Press, his son, however, I remember when this happened, was arrested. His son was had become a high school basketball coach off Fairfax in Los Angeles, and was arrested after he was discovered, true story, arrested after he was discovered that he had drilled a hole from a closet into the boys' locker room and was just watching all the high school male athletes shower and doing, you figured the rest. So that's Christopher Hyatt's son, so let that speak for itself. By their fruits ye shall know them. Ennio Morricone, first of all, you misspelled his name. So you're against the working class owning the means of production. What is wrong with workers being in control instead of billionaire CEOs? I reject your entire premise. It's like, you're not engaging with anything I'm saying. You're not engaging with anything I'm saying. Yeah, history, yeah. Do I hate unions? So you're straw manning. You're attacking positions that I haven't stated. Temple says jumping to conclusions with zero evidence as usual. So you're misrepresenting. Thank you, Maria. Charlie is very cute. Doggy blessings for all. So Ennio Morricone, libertarian edgelord stuff. Again, I'm just going to repeat myself. What exactly was it that I said, and represent it correctly, actually quote what I said, that you disagree with? Tell me why you disagree with it, with an actual argument, not just what about this, or you're a libertarian edgelord, or blah, 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 or straw manning, and then back up your position. I'm still waiting. Let's hear it. You're just spouting. Willie says, I just bought... Oh yeah, Frauder says, Ennio Morricone, it may help to explore the criticism of our beliefs, especially political ones, and then see if we still hold them. Just 2 cents, yes. Willie says, to Temple, I just bought a set of tarot cards and really know nothing about them. Never had a reading. Those 2 readings were so accurate, I'm stunned. Thank you. Temple says, he's not a libertarian. Do you often project so much? Ennio Morricone's astute response is lol. Okay, get on with your bad self. Manessa says, I support worker-owned business and unions and capitalism. Those are not contradictions. Yeah. Yeah. Temple says you should go to New Orleans. The readers there will blow your mind, I'm sure. Odin's Wall says the working class already has the opportunity to seize the means of production under the capitalist system. It's called borrowing money and starting a business. Unfortunately, readings are over. Will I ever do another half-price book trip vid? Yeah, I probably should at some point. All right. People are talking about refuting. People are refuting Ennio Morricone's points, but again, he's not engaging with anything I said. He's just spouting, right? He's not. Again, tell me what I said that you disagree with. Not saying you're right wing, you're a libertarian or edgelord. Tell me why you disagree with it with an actual argument, and then back it up. That shouldn't be hard. If you're a Marxist that sits around splitting nose hairs between Trotsky and Lenin and Marx and all of this stuff, presumably you have practice at this type of thing. Or, I'm sorry, maybe Marxist hermeneutics just leads to brain mush, since it's all garbage anyways, and not based on logic whatsoever. Just saying. I'm still waiting. That's the only response I'm going to accept. You can just spout off about this, that, and the other, but you're just making yourself look like a coward, basically. Nix, hey Jason, from all your studies, practices, and paths you've walked, have you come to the conclusion, I already answered that it all leads to one must find and follow their true will. For myself, yes. For other people, none of my business. Joker says, capitalism saves my life in a way. It's the only system I can make money off my music and any other thing. Yeah, Temple says, yes, capitalism gets many out of poverty. You just have to earn it. I've seen it plenty of times. Yeah. Have I done the Glitch Bottle podcast? I might have at some point. I can't remember. Is he going to put this stream up on YouTube to rewatch? Yeah. These streams are always archived. When I'm done, it'll just go to the live tab on the YouTube. LOL reminds me of Coetter. I assume you mean Ea Coetting / Black Magic, or become a living god edgelord Black Magic. I'm not sure what you're saying reminds me of that, but I have to say, I actually really adore E.A. Coetic. I've never met him, but like, what I mean by that is, like, I do not recommend doing any of his practices. It's ridiculous. But you have to appreciate, like, how, like, shameless the guy was. Like, he was clearly, like, I don't know if he's still doing anything, but clearly he's, just an ex-Mormon, and when Mormons go ex-Mormon, they really wild out. He got arrested for driving down the freeway, or driving in Utah on meth with a cache of weapons in the back. It's like, you gotta hand it to that guy. It's refreshing to see somebody who just totally embraces it with no, like, irony at all. That it's just entertaining. Like, I find him quite entertaining. I don't recommend doing any of those practices. You'll destroy your life and fuck everything up in the process. But I find him entertaining in a cartoon character kind of way. And I find him endearing because he's not duplicitous in a way. He's honest in what he is, right? So I like that. I like that. Joker says, yeah, I came from a junkie felon to having a house and a family. Congratulations, by the way. I'm sure that is not easy. Big congratulations. With other things I enjoy. In communism and other systems, you have no choice. You can't do this under communism. Capitalism will at least sell you spirituality. Still waiting. Yeah, Maria says Neoplatonism is more interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And requires actual intellect. Requires actual study, thinking, and work. With some fairly hard texts. Again, Annie is going out, should water be privatized? You're just throwing out straw man arguments. You're not engaging, you effing coward. You effing coward. Temple says you have to actively ignore history and the literal millions of deaths that occurred in pursuit of communism to think it's okay, but like I said, anyone who wants to watch debates on it can. Jumping to conclusions again, Jesus Christ. Watch our stream on logic, yes. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to read any more comments from that guy until he actually does what I said. Because otherwise he's just spouting off. All right, get on with your bad self. Why is Goetia one of the first required books for AA students? Genuinely curious, since, yeah, it sounds dangerous. Lon Milo makes it sound more like shadow work and fighting inner demons. One, I completely reject the it's shadow work thing. And I did a podcast with Lon where I basically, he agreed, he ended up agreeing with me, where I basically said, yeah, they might represent internal, like there may be internal demonic forces, but those are simply one register of a force that is external to you. And he agreed with me. So taking the psychological model to Goetia will fuck your life sideways. It just will. It will fuck your life sideways. Because those things, whatever they are, I don't know, but they have external agency. Why is it one of the first required books for AA students? I think because it shows the structure of actual it does show the structure of ceremonial work in a classic sense better than just about any other grimoire. And it also includes, at least in the Crowley Mathers edition, also includes the Bornless one, which is critical to have, whether, regardless of Goetia. That's my take on it. Yeah, straw man, so much straw man. Maria says, Temple has some good points. Thank you. I think so too. I thought her points were so good I married her. Z. Johnson says, I agree about unchecked capitalism being problematic sometimes, but communism is just unfair and doesn't reward innovation or hard work. Yeah, it's the pit. It's the path to hell. And Temple says, yeah, and the history of communism. Why are we ignoring the history? I mean, the only thing that communists can ever do is logical fallacy. I'm actually surprised he hasn't done a no true Scotsman, because that's usually their go-to. Oh, that's not true communism. The hell it wasn't. Every damn time someone tries to run that code, that shitty code, people die in the tens of millions. What's a good starting point for Enochian? Maria says, read John Dee. Yeah, I agree with that. Go straight to the source. Primary sources. Stephen Skinner's 5th edition of 5 Books of Mystery is a good starting point for source material. Well, the 5 Books of Mystery is good, but remember, the 5 Books of Mystery was only the prelude. It was basically the work that they did in order to get the Enochian system properly, which is in True and Faithful Relation. So together they make up together those 2 books make up what we have of Dee's diaries. So it's the 5 Books of Mystery, read that, and then True and Faithful Relation, and then you have the entire records. And yeah, just go to the primary source. Kevin Klein's edition of Dee's work also... Yeah, Joseph Peterson just put out 5 Books of Mystery, a.k.a. Mysteriorum Librae Quinque. My bad Latin. Joker says, yeah, and just look at Tibet. They got fucked for trying to believe what they wanted to, and it's so sad. I mean, it's like, they raped and tortured that entire country, and I mean that literally. You know. They gave nuns, they forced nuns to have abortions with corkscrews. They put guns in the hands of children and made them kill their parents. They forced parents to rape their own children at gunpoint. They turned the entire country into a strip mining zone, destroyed the tradition. Monks have been lighting themselves on fire in the hundreds for the last couple decades to try to get the attention of the world, and it has fallen on deaf ears. And all that remains of Tibet is in India and America. So, fuck your communism. Temple says, yes, commies just refuse to study history or logic or economics outside of Marxism. I have no interest in Peter Levenda. Oh, I am Pope Paul says Sundance is a 4-day dry fast. Damn, with 7 rounds of dancing and praying each day. Piercings are done with wooden pegs on ropes. Chest, arm, and back piercing are all ripped out through ecstatic dancing. That's hardcore. That's even more hardcore than I thought it was. Damn, dude. Props. Yeah, I am not of the fakir path, but people who are, man, it's dedication. It's dedication. Joker says, didn't mean to get into this conversation, but I could do a whole YouTube channel on how living in America has benefited me so much. Yeah. I did a video on the main video section where I was in a cemetery in Philadelphia a couple back about the American magical current. Highly recommend that. Yeah, Mirza says Mao and Stalin were enough to retire communism forever. Yeah. And Joker says, yeah, capitalism's not perfect, but I can believe the way I want to. And that's really, there you go. And Willie Todd says, yeah, and Pol Pot for the cherry on top. Yeah. Any recommendations on places to start learning, practicing geomancy? Well, the Golden Dawn book. Yeah, but China is state capitalism, bro. Sarcasm. Yeah, that would be the obvious no true Scotsman that he didn't make. It's not that simple. Oh? Yeah, just ask the Fallen Gong. How is it not that simple? Please tell me. Tibet's situation is a whataboutism just as much as you're blaming me of it. How is it I'm talking about a system of government where things like water and natural... No, go fuck yourself. I'm talking to you about how communism has actually been instituted in history, not your abstractions. You're talking about a system of government where things like water and natural resources are publicly owned. Again, to take it back to your original point, you're claiming you became a communist through Buddhism. I am telling you that is historically retarded and utterly self-contradicting. It is retarded. You are retarded. You are being hoisted by your own retard. And you're proposing a system like for those playing the home game, you're proposing a system in which none of us currently on this chat would be able to do this, and quite likely many of us would be jailed or killed. So no, it's not a whataboutism, it's a go fuck yourself. Yeah, Temple says it's literally not a whataboutism, it's the literal result of communism to fuck. I think at this point this guy just likes he's getting attention. You said Charlie shoots lasers and that's super impossible. Well, that's why they call it magic with a K. Willie Todd says, yeah, agree, but it's like 10-to-1 ratio of leftists to right-wingers, and only one of those types of people will attack you in downtown Portland for not being them. Yeah, I actually just watched a documentary about the shit going on in downtown Portland, or downtown Seattle last night. Not a joke. God, what a fucking mess. Just embarrassing. Just embarrassing. Yeah, only one side is shooting people in the neck, by the way. Have you heard Kurt Metzger's theory that the old religion's highest adept's goal is to create their own religion, e.g. Thelema Scientology? I don't know who Kurt Metzger is. I think in general it is a truism that when one becomes a master of a system, one may or may not re-articulate a system, but it's important to understand that each turning of the wheel, each re-articulate, even Thelema is a re-articulation in a way of Taoism in many ways for the West. Right? And Taoism and Thelema are re-articulations of a thing that is constantly there. They're just outer reflections of something. So even new systems they're only new reiterations of the same thing for new generations. Oh, I lost the... Yeah, I don't know who Kurt Metzger is, so... Maria says, Goetia is not shadow work. No, it's not. The curriculum starts out with it because people use it to get stuff. It's in Malkuth. Okay. Hey Jason, I still have that question in my mind on the balance between devotion to the guru, the path of guru kripa, grace with the guru, and magical ascent, exertion of individual will. You're kind of crossing streams here, but in the Eastern systems, if they're working healthfully, I can say in the Eastern systems, the role of the guru is essentially to direct the student and more or less be the placeholder for their own internal connection to the higher until they can do it themselves. P.S. I am not a guru, so don't make that mistake. I'm just a guy on the internet who shares information. '84 Chicky says, "Yay, I really like your wife." I do too. Temple says, "I've read Gurdjieff and really enjoyed his work." I mean, I've read Gurdjieff. I'm familiar with his ideas, right? But I haven't like done the dances or anything like that. The same exact things you're saying about communism happens under capitalism, so you have no argument. Oh, really? Oh, really? Again, the whataboutisms. Again, no argument, false equivalence. Like, you're making this too easy, bruh. I'm a true communist because huge-ass brutality structures make amazing album covers. Woo! He says, your John D. book is my go-to on the subject. Thank you. Frauder says, my pleasure, home slice. Thank you. Friend of Baphomet says, I don't think he really understands what he's arguing for and against. Or he does. Never attribute to stupidity what you can attribute to malevolence. That's Jason's maxim for today. Never rush to attribute to stupidity what you can attribute to malevolence. Joker says, I'm not saying any other system is better, but it is. I can literally worship Shiva in my closet and pray to anything and do any practice I want. Whereas in China, you'd be praying to Shiva in your closet, and because if people found out, you'd be put in jail, disappeared, and or murdered. Will I share more stories about me and Genesis? I suppose as they emerge. Mortlake. Oh, Mortlake closed? That sucks. I know Dark Star Books in Portland got attacked, go figure, because Portland. That sucks. That's terrible to hear. I did not know that. Frauder for Geomancy recommends Franz Hartmann, Stephen Skinner's book. Golden Dawn is good, but altered like Hartmann's. Okay. Hard R up in here. I'm going to use that hoisting line on my boys. Just quote me. That's a Jason original. Hoisted by his own retard. Have I ever heard of Alice Bailey? Yes, of course. By the way, another communist. Alice Bailey's whole thing was, you can find writing on this, was to use the New Age. A lot of the New Age is a front for world socialism. It's not a right-wing conspiracy, by the way. Yeah, so Alice Bailey, quite suspicious. Quite suspicious. I've never seen him that... If you're talking about me not being that serious or angry, you haven't been watching me very long. I'm just telling you the truth, man. You know, reality is as it is. Whatever I say about it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm not angry. I'm just being legit and logical. Yeah. Derp with Kerp Metzger's podcasts. Okay. Oh, this Kurt Metzger guy hates anything occult. I was listening to him earlier, and he was talking shit about gay wizards and witches. Leave the gay wizards and witches alone. What'd they do to you? Okay, now Scandinavia has this. Scandinavia. Give it a rest, man. Most Scandinavian countries. Scandinavia does not have collective ownership. They have soft state socialism. It's a completely different thing, and it doesn't work that great, by the way. There are, yes, and Neo Morricone, there are varying degrees of socialism, and they're all poison. There's varying degrees of arsenic you can put in your coffee, too. Again, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting. Oh yeah, Temple says Scandinavia is capitalist. This is a comment for Frauder RC as well. You'll appreciate this. This is something that I love to say to really piss communists off. Socialism is capitalist privilege. Look at the Scandinavian countries. Look at Canada, got really rich off all that oil. The reason they can do capitalism, or excuse me, the reason they can try to do socialism, is because they already won the brutal capitalism game. The Scandinavian countries, when they went Protestant in order to do usury and break with the Catholic Church, and then got rich off fishing and all of that, and Canada off of oil reserves, although apparently now it's collapsing. Maybe socialism wasn't a great idea. It's a parlor game for people who have already won the capitalist game through ruthless exploitation. Yeah, Temple says, for anyone who wonders if Scandinavia is communist, just Google it or search it on any large language model. Yeah. Joker says, thank God for you, Jason and Temple. I needed this right now. No joke. This fucking guy. Market regulation is a form of socialism. Again, instead of spouting off about your horse shit, tell me one thing that I've said that you disagree with, give me the counter, represent it correctly, give me the counter argument, and back it up. All that you've done is engage in, frankly, stale and tedious logical fallacies that we've all heard before, and demonstrated that your head is full of spaghetti. That's literally all you've done. Explain the New Agers as a front thing. Real simple. We're all one consciousness, man. Yeah, well, nothing intelligent from Spaghetti Brain over here. All right, it is, wow, we've been going for a while. It's we've been going for what, like 2.5 hours? Hoisted by his own retard. All right, everyone. I should probably get off. We've got 93 viewers right now. That's a good moment to stop. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Remember, the Black Friday deal, the ridiculously good deal, is on for if you join the channel. Otherwise, it will be out Friday. So if you want the deal now, you can join the channel. If you want to be if you want to get notified right away when it comes out, so you can grab it otherwise without joining the channel, start.magic.me. Join the, that's just the mailing list. You get a free meditation as well, guided meditation. Thank you, Maria. All right, that was fun. That was fun. That was fun. All right, we'll have to do that again sometime, possibly tomorrow. We'll see. All right, pay, you know. Pay, type F to pay respects to Spaghetti Brain. And now he's just saying gibberish. All right, and I will see you all very soon. Start.magic.me or Friday.magic.me while supply